This year's best-selling self-help book is not about shedding pounds or adding years to your life. It's about, once again, perfecting your sex life. In this case, the point of focus is termed simply the G-spot. And here is one of the authors, registered nurse Beverly Whipple. Beverly, welcome.
Thank you.
Why do we need this? Whatever happened to what my grandmother used to say, let nature take its course?
Nature used to take its course, but what's happened now is that we've been told there's one way for people to respond, for men and women. There's a monolithic pattern, and people are seeing themselves having to fit into this pattern. And if they didn't, they felt very badly about themselves. And what we're saying in this book is that there's a variety of ways that people can respond sexually. And however they respond, they should feel good about that and not strive for something else.
Do you mean to tell me that after having read this book, men and women can be a lot happier?
We hope that we will free people from feeling that they have to respond one way. And what we're doing in the book is saying that sexual response, whatever feels good to you, should feel good about, and not strive for the G-spot or the clitoris or the big O, but just feel good about what feels good to you.
And they call
Pleasure
it the G-spot because of the man who discovered
Dr. Perry and I named it the Grafenberg spot after Dr. Ernst Grafenberg, who wrote about this in 1950. And in 1950, he wrote about a sensitive area in the vagina that swells when it's stimulated. He wrote that there's an orgasm that was different from the orgasm from clitoral stimulation, and also that some women expelled a fluid from the urethra that was different in chemical composition from urine. And our findings were very similar to this, so we named it after him.
I found it fascinating reading about the gynecologist from Jefferson Hospital who said initially when he heard about this, bull, because he said, I've examined thousands of women, operated on them, etc., and now he's one of my colleagues.
I'm also on the faculty at Jefferson. Yes.
And he actually performed his own experiment and found that it was.
Yes. The reason why doctors haven't found this area before is that you have to sexually stimulate the area for it to swell and for it to be pleasurable. And of course, doctors do not sexually stimulate a patient.
No, I wouldn't think so.
So that's why they haven't found it.
But they end up in jail. Yeah, the good doctors.
You can always tell them the shifty eyes and the long mustaches and all. Now, where is the G-spot located?
Okay, if I can use this model.
Wait a minute, I want to put my glasses on.
Okay, fine.
Be careful where you hold that.
This is the clitoris here, this is the pubic bone, this is the uterus, and this is the cervix, the part of the uterus that comes into the vagina.
Excuse me, are we close on this? Yes,
and this is the vagina right here, and this is your bladder and your urethra. If you put your finger into the vagina and push up in this area, about halfway between the back of the pubic bone and the cervix, and stimulate the area with kind of like a come here motion, just pushing up into the upper wall, you will feel an area that begins to swell as it's stimulated. And the woman will tell you whether you're on the area or not, because it is quite sensitive. Some women find this very pleasurable. Some have an orgasm from it. Some people say, hey, that's not so comfortable. We're all individuals. Some women like their breasts stimulated, some don't. It's also interesting, if you have fingers in the vagina or a penis or something stimulating this area, the woman can put her hand onto her abdomen, right above the pubic bone, and feel down, and she'll feel this swelling between the two sets of fingers. So you can actually feel an area that does swell.
Can I try that?
Sure.
No.
I mean, just show me where to go.
Here.
My mother is right over there. Yeah.
Right. You gotta bend your fingers up like this.
I was never good at popular mechanics.
I see that.
You know?
Yeah, you're in the bladder now.
All right, no, seriously.
That will
I
definitely cause some discomfort.
It's difficult from this angle. How often will we find ourselves in this position, right?
Right there.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, you do have problems.
Yeah, I know.
You're in the bladder again.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Are you right-handed or left-handed? That could be the problem.
Yeah, that's true. This would not be the hand I would do.
That's right, exactly.
You know.
Now, you found this spot in all your subjects.
In the research that we did, we found the sensitive area in every subject, but we do not know 400 women, but we do not know if everyone has it. Nor do we want everybody to go out and say, I've got to find my G-spot. This is a new trigger point. But for those people who enjoy this form of stimulation, we want to validate them.
Now, the 400 women, would you explain the procedure? I mean, what was the procedure?
What we did was a pelvic examination. Either a physician or a nurse on our team did a pelvic examination and looked for areas of sensitivity by going around the whole vagina. And we found that this area at 12 o'clock, or the top of the vagina, was most sensitive. And we could also feel an area that began to swell. These subjects had signed an informed consent saying that they knew they would be sexually stimulated. And we could find an area that swelled in all of these women. But we don't know if everyone has this area.
How's the book doing? Needless to say, it's doing wonderfully well.
On Sunday, it was number 6 on the New York Times bestseller list. And what it says to me is that people are interested in learning more about themselves, because we did write this information in a very non-goal-directed way. we're focusing on pleasure and feeling good about yourself.
Now, I am told that the orgasm that derived from this, what you just described, is different.
People, yes, it is different physiologically. You know, women have said for years, you know, I feel a different type of response, and they've been told, well, it's all in your head.
And they didn't know what that was.
Right, but what we have found is that, as Masters and Johnson had described, stimulation of the clitoris, at the time of orgasm, there's a tenting or ballooning effect in which the end of the vagina balloons out and the uterus pulls up. What happens with stimulation of the Grafenberg spot is that the uterus seems to push down. There's contractions of the uterus and the upper part of the vagina, and the uterus seems to push down, and sometimes the opening of the vagina or the introitus opens up some, and there's quite a bit of pressure, like a Valsalva maneuver, pushing down, and sometimes whatever is stimulating this area is pushed out of the vagina, and that's an entirely different response pattern. And so some people have felt very uncomfortable with this. Some people have expelled fluid at this time and thought that they were urinating. Surgery was done on some women when the only time they lost fluid was at the time they had an orgasm. So we're hoping, yes, we're hoping that we can let people know that this is a normal phenomenon that does occur in some women and help them to feel better about it. Many women stopped having orgasms because they thought they were abnormal. They were doing something that they couldn't find in the literature, although Aristotle did write about this. So it's been known for a long time. These are not new discoveries, really they're rediscoveries. And we're just kind of doing a synthesis and putting the work together.
Are you concerned that if this book does become a big hit, that you realize, of course, there will be discotheques named the G-Spot? I mean, seriously.
Yes, I'm very concerned about that because I'm quite serious about what we're doing.
Oh, I know. I'm not,
and, I am concerned that some people are going to see this as a new goal. Yeah. And I see sexuality as being pleasure-oriented rather than goal-oriented. And we should feel good about what feels good to us rather than set something up as a goal. Our last chapter is called The Best is the Enemy of the Good. And if you're striving to be the best, no matter what it is, you often miss a lot of the good that happens along the way.
I'm curious, since you brought that point up, the striving to be the best. I'm thinking, are as many men buying this as women?
I don't know about this, but
there's no way of knowing.
No, but there is a lot of information in this book for men too.
I would think more men would be buying this.
I would think there's more information in it for men than there is.
But we're also talking about male response in here too, and how men are capable of having a variety of orgasmic responses and other areas that are stimulating to men.
Do men have G-spots?
Well, men have a prostate gland, and many men like stimulation of this area, and their orgasm is different from when there's stimulation of the prostate gland from stimulation of the penis. So we do talk about a continuum of orgasmic experience for both men and women.
Well, this is one time I don't have to say, please stay with us. I'm sure you will. And thank you.
Thank you.
Will all of you stay? Because we're going to pause now, and we're going to hear from Sandy Kenyon and the news from Hollywood.